How do we know Jesus existed? Is this just assumed by believers? Well, in fact, probably for many believers, it is an assumption. Jesus is in the Bible, so he must have existed. But in fact, there's evidence outside the Bible, not written by believers at all, that Jesus existed. Perhaps the most famous example comes from Josephus, who wrote at the end of the first century, who was a Jew who lived in Israel originally and then became part of the emperor's court. He wrote a book called Antiquities, and in book 18, sections 63 and 64, he discusses Jesus, who was a performer of unusual works, who was crucified under Pontius Pilate at the behest of the Jewish leadership, and that there was a movement that came out of what it was that Jesus did in his ministry. It's an interesting text because we know it's been doctored by Christian copyists since, but it's pretty obvious what those portions are, so most classical scholars recognize that Josephus did describe really the core elements of what Jesus was about. And then we have Tacitus, an early 2nd century Roman historian in his work Annals, who talks about the Great Fire of Rome in AD 64 that comes from a movement that was founded by Christ, who was crucified under Pontius Pilate. So the most basic facts about who Jesus was and the fact that he was crucified in the Greco-Roman Empire by Pontius Pilate is something that's known, that he was a performer of unusual works is known, and that he fostered the launching of a group, the impact of which had spread from Israel to Rome by the early 2nd century is something that's transparent in all these writings. So yes, Jesus definitely did exist.